Hello Internet, I am the hero of Holios, once again with a D&D miniature storytime thing. I'm still working on the title for it, but I figured this time, instead of telling a story about something that actually happened in D&D, I would take a moment, because, it's still Christmas time, it's still D&December, to tell a more Christmas-themed story around an idea I saw online for just a way to paint the beholder monster. So I decided to paint it this way, which made me want to tell a story about a beholder. And without further ado, I will read it to you. Nicholas hushed his breath as he sealed the entrance behind him. It had been a long, cold march up the mountain, but the people of the valley needed hope, and he was not going to deny them it any longer. He grasped the rosary hanging from his neck and whispered a few elvish words. Soon after, his emblem began to glow, and by covering it with his beard, he was able to direct the light as he chose to, allowing him to look around the cave. It was abandoned, that much was easy to tell, as the green, furry being who once lived there now stayed with the townsfolk. He told Nicholas that he had returned here once a little longer than a decade ago, in search of some abandoned trinkets left behind. Aside from that visit, the lair of the one called Grinch was left alone, untouched. The cold within was proof enough of that. However, despite the valley and mountain not being known to others, a roar had been heard from the top recently, and things about the village had begun to change. First was the enervation. The people felt tired, drained of energy, and an overall sense of lethargy covered the land. Soon after was the sleep, as the town called it. This was not a normal afternoon nap or retiring to one's bedchamber early, but the people falling asleep in the middle of shopping or eating. A narcolepsy brought businesses and fun to a standstill. Nicholas began to worry when the slowing began, as if falling asleep had only been the beginning. Now it felt as if time itself was laying down for a respite. He was only a young cleric, traveling the world to deliver the messages of his God and to bring joy to people and their kin. But now, he prayed every night for an answer, a way to help those who needed him. The answer became clear as light shone through his window, though not the way Nicholas had hoped. The light began to tear through the floorboards, turning all in its path into a fine gray dust. It was not all for naught, though, for the beam of light gave Nicholas enough time to find its source. A floating creature was making its way towards the top of the mountain, and now Nicholas knew what he had been sent here to do. The cave was damp, cold, covered in stolen goods from a time when a heart was 2 sizes too small. The cleric ventured onward, hearing a voice in the distance. At first, he expected a sinister beast of a creature mocking him, but realized the creature in question did not seem all right in the head.
1, 2, I give to you a friendly little pat, and should you ask for 3 and 4, I'll make your head go splat.
The cry of a small creature could be heard as the sound of bones crushing reached his ears.
5 and 6, I feel between both right and wrong, but 7 and 8, my path is straight, and I'll have a new home by dawn.
The words didn't make much sense, but it was clear that this creature was not friendly. As Nicholas rounded the corner, he saw the creature, lightened by the many candles it kept around itself. At first, one would think it was a head, floating around without a body to hold it back. But most heads have 2 eyes, and the ones that don't tend to have a spot where a second would go. Most heads also had a nose, and only 1 row of teeth. But what shocked the young cleric most of all was the head had, rather than hair, 10 tendrils flouncing about in every direction, each with an eye at the end, searching endlessly for something. Something like an intruder in their home. Something that shouldn't be here. Something like Nicolas, who realized only too late that one of the eyes had noticed him. The great beast turned its attention to him, all 11 eyes now fixed on him. The creature attempted a smile, only to frighten him further, as he could see the blood dripping from its teeth. 9 and 10, the creature began, and soon I'll do it again. As the single eye gazed upon Nicolas, the light from his rosary faded, as if the magic had been drained from it. Nicolas attempted to send a blinding spell into the beast's eyes, but found nothing he could cast would work. The piercing red and white eye in front of him danced around, laughing, but never letting him out of its gaze. Perhaps that's the reason, he thought, and quickly tried to dodge behind a stalagmite. Upon hiding, he found he could cast his spells again, and relit his rosary. He thanked his god and prepared to strike, only to find the stone that hid him had been blasted away by the beast. There was another pause as the two of them stared each other down, and Nicolas quickly realized. "You can't use magic either when you do that, can you?" he asked, only to watch the beast close its middle eye and point the other 10 at him. "Right, that makes sense," he replied as he began to run out of the lair. As he scurried and ran, he thought back to his conversations with the townsfolk, the things that had gone around town, and how one year the Green One had attempted to steal their festivities. He had spoken with the green furry one, and asked how he had lived on this mountain alone for so long. "It wasn't hard," he remembered the green man saying. "I wasn't truly alone, though I thought I was. These festivities don't come with ribbons, or even tags. It comes without packages, boxes, or bags." Nicolas turned to face the beast, rosary in hand. The creature opened its eye once more, its jaw along with it, preparing to consume the cleric in a single gulp. "You see, I hadn't stopped it. It just came. Somehow or another, it always comes just the same." Nicolas gripped his focus and called for intervention. Planting his feet and closing his eyes, he prepared to be the one who stood against the monster. But the bite never came. Instead, a monstrous roar clamored from the beast's gullet. As Nicolas opened his eyes, he saw an axe had split the monster in twain, and from behind him he heard the green man call out his name. "Though I don't know why, I felt called to help you," he started. "A voice in my head said it was time to move. The beast in my old home, hunting and hurting those down below. I shouldn't have waited for someone else to stop this foe." He helped Nicolas up. They looked down at their feet. "Now, what say you help me carve this roast beast?" Let me know what you think in the comments. It's a interesting little story. I'm adding this monster to my shelf of monsters, and I would like to do something like this again in the future if people like it enough, I guess. But all that aside, remember to keep your paints organized, do not drink the forbidden milk, and I will see you next time.